So once you have picked the job for this project and done your research, you're now ready to proceed with figuring out the salary. Okay, so the salary that you had before was the median salary, which is the middle salary for that job. To start, you're going to have to research the average starting salary for your job. When you start out, you're probably going to be making less money than the middle of the people doing that job. So you have to Google this and find out what would your job make on average starting, okay? So I looked up the average starting salary of an Upper St. Clair teacher. Maybe you want to be a teacher. I just looked up the average starting salary for that, and I found that it was $47,900. So I'm going to show you how to calculate your gross pay based off of that number. This is the number that you will use for the remaining of the project, okay? Try to find it for PA when you're researching. PA average starting salary for teacher or average starting salary for neurosurgeon in PA. If you can't find that, then see if you can find the national average, because teaching, for example, is one of those jobs that you make a very different amount of money depending on what state you're in. Most of you will not have to do this bottom part. I'm going to talk about this real quick though. If you pick a job that doesn't make a salary or you can't find it, you might be able to find an hourly rate instead. For instance, my husband is a nurse and he makes an hourly wage. So if you can't find the salary, that is okay. You can calculate it. Again, most people will not complete the bottom part. So let's say that you found a job that you want to do and it pays $12 per hour. You could calculate your salary by figuring this out. 12 times 40 hours for each week. You would work 40 hours a week. 12 times 40 would give us $480. So you would be making $480 each week. Well, how many weeks are in a year? 52. So you would take this amount and you would multiply that by 52 to figure out how much you would make total for the year. When I do that with this example, I would get $24,960. Again, most people will not be doing that part, but if you can only find the hourly wage for your job, you will have to calculate the salary by multiplying by 40 and then multiplying by 52. So for this job, that person would make $24,960 for the year. Either way, you will proceed with either this number or this number. Okay, so let's talk about gross pay. Gross pay is your starting salary. Okay, so we're going to assume that you receive the starting pay for your first year out of college and want to see how much you will make for the first 10 years. The gross amount of money is the amount of money that the school district says they're going to pay you or the company says they're going to pay you. The gross pay is before any taxes or Social Security or anything really comes out of it. Okay, so it's like the initial salary. In reality, you won't actually make that much, okay? Now, we're going to assume that you get a 2% raise each year. Most jobs include some sort of raise each year. So if we think about it, you would be making 2% more than the previous year. All right, so thus you are making what percent of last year's salary? Well, you think about it, you have to make 100% of what you were making last year. So you're going to make 100% plus the 2% raise. So what percent of last year's salary are you making? 102%. So in order to find how much money you would make the next year, you would multiply that percent times the money you make. Okay. Now 102% is what as a decimal? We always make a percent out of 100, and if we divided this by 100, you would get 1.02. This should make sense to you from chapter 2. You're making 100% of your salary from last year plus the 2% raise. Okay, so let me show you a sample of this. If I go back to my Upper St. Clair starting teacher salary, it was $47,900. That would be like your first year of teaching or year 0 because you haven't had any raises yet. Then 1 year in, it'd be your second year of working, but the first year of your raise, you would take that amount that you started with, whatever you have in the first starting salary year, and you would multiply that by 1.02. That's signifying that you're making 100% of last year's salary plus a 2% raise. So if we do that on our calculator and figure out that we're making $48,858, You're going to round to the nearest dollar for each one of these. So we'd be making $48,858. Then for year 2, you're going to take that amount from the previous year. You're going to start with that now. 48,852. You're going to make a 2% raise on that. So again, multiply by the 1.02 to represent the 2% raise. Do that on your calculator. Round to the nearest dollar, I get 49,835. Let me just do one more, making sure you're good. Again, if we take that new number, the 49,835, and we multiply it by 1.02, this is what you're going to do in the entire table the whole way down, you would be making $50,832, and that would be in after your third raise or your 4th year of teaching. So you could go all the way through. We would continue this pattern. I found for Upper St. Clair, your 10th year of teaching, after 9 raises, you would make $57,245. That is how you do the gross pay for this project.